Hey guys, it's Nathan Rousseau here, the writer and director and producer of Zelda Rising Darkness. Um, I just wanted to make a video because I'm just so floored by the response to the movie. I'm really not, I didn't make it for a numbers thing. I wasn't kind of expecting it to reach what it has. So yeah, I just wanted to pop on here and really say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been really, really encouraging. It's been such a just great experience that people have really enjoyed the movie. I was thinking maybe it would get like 20,000, maybe. So for it to surpass 50,000 in the first like month has been crazy. Yeah, and then over 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, and I just couldn't be more grateful. The response in the comments has been wonderful. I've read every single one of them. I've tried to respond to pretty much every single one of them, and it's kind of become a little bit of a ritual for me when I get home from work just to get on there and read or respond to a couple comments. And the response has just been so kind, like so just overwhelmingly, like people understand what I was doing, and yeah, and people have really appreciated like the work that I've put into the film. And again, like I just wasn't expecting it to get this big. I really did this for myself. I did this so that I could look at something that I had finished and be really happy with it. And yeah, so to have extra validation has been just awesome. So I wanted to say that first and foremost. I'm going to try to do some more of these types of like commentary videos moving forward. I think that's kind of what the channel is going to do for a while here. Because I've been working on this thing for so long. So I really would like to I really like to talk about it. So I think either I'll do some shorter form stuff like this. We'll see how long this ends up being. That'll be a funny joke if it's very long. But yeah, I think I'll do some where I just kind of fixate on one aspect of the film, like this one, and then I will do some longer form ones where I do a full commentary of the movie. I'll do a full breakdown of all of the music. And yeah, so let me know in the comments if there's anything you want me to cover, if there's any questions that you have. I will likely answer them or make a video about it. So this is kind of the first in many. So yeah, just thanks for being here, and let's get to our topic for the day. So, right off the bat, I want to say spoilers, obviously, for the whole movie. If you haven't watched it, I can't tell you how much I don't understand why you'd be watching this video. But I guess more power to you. But spoilers. This is the first time I get to talk about this without worrying about spoilers. So I'm very excited to talk about the hero Shade today. That character is... It became really like a conduit for which I could tell the story of how I kind of processed through coming back to the project and why I did. It gave me a little bit of like the reasoning for it. Yeah, so that character is really, really special to me. And a lot of people have really loved that moment. I know a lot of people have said they cried at the reveal that the hero Shade is the version of Link that we see, just older. Yeah, and I've really I've been really appreciative that people have genuinely connected with that moment and connected with the character. I feel like he kind of gave the whole backbone of the whole story. That's why I'm doing this video first out of all the commentaries, because I really wanted to just like give that character time and explain some of the interesting behind the scenes stuff about him. Because originally... okay, I really do think that the movie would not exist if it wasn't for the hero Shade. I don't think I would have truly gotten the motivation to continue it and finish it if I didn't have the kind of cathartic scene at the end, especially to kind of really send off the characters, send off the story. And yeah, so I really don't think it would have gotten done if the hero Shade had not been in there, and he almost wasn't. He was the last character added in the entire movie. There was it was, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, it almost didn't happen, and so the fact that it happened, like you can thank this character for the entire movie having happened. So I just really wanted to give it give it its space. Yeah, and so I think now I'm just gonna go scene by scene, and I'll just commentate as we're watching here, give you a little backstory for some of the things that you wouldn't know. So this section, the Lost Woods here, this is the first time you technically see the hero Shade a little bit earlier. You see him when he's you see him in a vision in Link's little dream. This scene in particular, I wrote the day before filming. All of these scenes, actually, the Lost Woods in particular, that the whole like 30-minute section was entirely different in the original draft of the script. I don't like what it was in the original draft of the script. This is my favorite part of the movie, and it's a lot of people's favorite part of the movie. I feel like it is the most Zelda part of the movie because Link's alone. He's going on this kind of mystical adventure. Yeah, I really like it a lot. And the only reason it happened in this way, the only reason that Link's like speaking to the hero Shade at this point, was because Helene and Owen, who play Impa and Faranu, were both sick that day. I think Helene had like a allergic reaction and literally had like hives and was like, I can't be on camera right now. And Owen, I think, had a fever, and it was nearing fall. You have no idea, even just looking at this shot right now, you have no idea how many of these leaves I like manually colored green. I had to really do a lot of work to make it not look like fall in any of these shots. And that's the end of that scene. But that, yeah, and so I was already kind of pushing it up to the wire. We needed to get those scenes done that weekend. I had a 3-day block where I had a bunch of people, and I was like, these are the scenes that we're gonna do, and I just couldn't. It was one of the last shoots we did, and I couldn't push it back any further. Originally, actually, it was actually one of the first. There was a lot of actuallys in there. It was one of the first scenes we were gonna film, the Lost Woods section, and we didn't get to it then because there was weather. So we had rescheduled it, and this was one of the last shoots that we were gonna do. And then Helene and Owen got sick, and so I was frantically like, I have to literally rewrite this entire thing. It was the night before filming, and I did. I rewrote this entire section, pretty much verbatim what you see. I remember I was like at an event that night, and I just like figured out the Skull Kid's costume and had cast the Skull Kid, and I was like scribbling storyboards. I'll probably put the storyboards on the screen, because every moment of this movie, it was fully storyboarded, and these ones were just like utter desperation and like, I gotta get this done before tomorrow. Yeah, and it was a really good test for me, and like just a teaching moment for me that like sometimes your best creativity happens when you're not looking for it, you're not expecting it, and it'll just hit you. So the whole Lost Woods section was like that, and the hero Shade would not have been in the movie had that not happened. Originally, it was going to be Faranu saw Saria from Ocarina of Time, and there was a whole like Six Sages plot in the sequel that was gonna. It's totally not the most current version of the sequel that is there, but originally there was a whole Six Sages plot, and Faranu was kind of the one leading that. So it was a little sad that like some of his character development kind of got cut short because of those changes, but the hero Shade was able to show up and be this disembodied voice for a while. Yeah, and then let's skip ahead to the next scene. So then we have Majora a little bit. This kind of is the essence of the scene that was originally there, because Link was like dying, and the Triforce would glow if it was so bad. It was like he could be held up, and like it was horrible. I don't need to talk about it. The original scene was bad, but it's the same kind of similar things happening. So the Triforce pushes back Majora there, and then we have a little Poe. I have the Poe sound effect, kind of try to replicate the Poe sound effect from Ocarina of Time. And then the way that I had him appear, I tried to make him kind of look like the ghost of what is her name? I forget the queen's name from Twilight Princess. Rutilina? No, I forget her name. But I kind of tried to make it like reminiscent of that moment where he's kind of following this spirit, and kept a similar vibe of the little Poe spirit as the spirits of Twilight Princess, because it's not a dead spirit. He's alive, and he's casting his spirit, from the other world. So that's what's going on there. There's not much more to tell about that scene, I guess. But that's the first real visual of our little hero Shade. So then, of course, we have our epic Master Sword moment, which was actually, we filmed like half of it very much earlier, and then I'll talk about this more in the commentary. But I'm very proud of how that moment played out. And then right after it, this music that begins was the last piece of music I ever wrote for the movie. It was kind of a vacant space. I thought it was going to just be nothing, but here you hear this music coming in. Is the last piece of music I wrote, and it's when the hero Shade appears.
The green tunic is gifted only to one chosen by the gods.
The way he appears too is supposed to be reminiscent of the spirits in Breath of the Wild. The way they have the little kind of Poe spirits around them.
It is a timeless temple, and you are its main defender.
And so I'll show you the how later. But I filmed the same green screen as what I used just a few months ago to film all these scenes, film the reverse of these scenes. So it was an easy fix for me when we were when I had to create these scenes, like in such a frantic time period. I knew, okay, I'm just gonna do it in post. I don't have to really worry about it. I can just like think about a costume later. I have a bunch of different drafts of the costume. Yeah, and then it was just became this bigger thing that I was like, oh, I haven't done that yet. Oh, I haven't done that yet. And yeah, and now it's like it was the last thing that we filmed. It was, the last moments. And yeah, and I rewrote these scenes. These were the last scenes I wrote. These were all kind of like, I was able to really kind of use my skills that I have now while trying to match the style. I was definitely like writing down a little bit to make it fit in the style of what I wrote when I was 14. But I think it's cool. I think it's really cool to have just these moments where I'm talking to myself, 14 years apart. So, yeah.
Talum. That was his name.
And he remembers, yeah, I tried to, that was a hard line when he's like talking about the mayor. Because originally, I'll talk about this a little bit, I guess. Originally, this character was not going to be the hero, this hero. He was going to be the hero's father originally. Even in the last scene in Between the Worlds, there's a like moment when Link's like looking up, and right after the camera cuts, he goes, "Father!" So that's a little tidbit. So I did have to work pretty hard to get the lines to match up and everything. All right, let's get to the next scene. All right, guys. And here we go, my pride and joy. This scene was so much work. So after the initial rewrites, I wrote in the hero Shade as a bigger character, and I wrote in this whole sequence. I don't know why I did that to myself. Well, I do, but I really wanted him to be more of an established character to really help Link at this pivotal moment. This was one of the last scenes I filmed, and I filmed it entirely on my own. So you'll notice there's not a lot of camera motion in this whole section. And that's just because it was just me with a tripod. I didn't have the time to get a bunch of people. So I just set it up. I storyboarded it. I set up the camera, and then I filmed it. Anytime you see it moving, literally, either it's an effect I put on it, or I am holding the whole tripod situation and doing like a selfie with it. So that was crazy. And then these, obviously, the whole fight section was just a couple months ago on the green screen, and I just it was horrible. Like, all my equipment is broken. I didn't have anything, so I was like, literally, my camera was set up on this rickety old thing, and I think it turned out well. I think the fighting is pretty believable. It took a lot of work. It was a lot of sleepless nights to get him to move like that, and it kind of gets a motion blur in there, so he doesn't look like he's just superimposed. The lighting too. I live in the desert now, so like the desert's, the desert sun was pretty harsh, so I felt that kind of added to the atmosphere of him really being there.
Is it her fault that your home is gone? Is it her fault?
It was so hard to match up these shots. I just need you to know. It was so difficult. I had storyboards, so I had a storyboard initially, and then I had a storyboard that was just screen grabs of the Link footage, and then I like wrote in, okay, he's gonna stand there, and then he's gonna walk this way. So that gave me a reference, and my wife helped me to set up the reference, but it was so difficult to get all the angles right on all of these, and I'm just really thankful that it worked out, because now it's like, I don't know, it's really therapeutic to me that like he's teaching him in the same way that Link was teaching the young kid Shylon in the first half of the movie. He's now teaching himself, with probably a similar age difference too between them. And at the end, the training ends on a spin attack in both scenarios. So
Passion, rage, love. These are powerful weapons, but they make faulty.
yeah, and that's very much the theme of the scenes are,
Do not let them take
he's learning to control his emotions. He's not learning to, and that's recent therapy I've done, right, is learning to accept the emotions without letting them control you. And my whole like canon was that the fire in the sword comes from that like harnessed emotion, that it's there and it could just burn out and be crazy, and that's kind of what Ganondorf is. But for Link, it's like he can harness it. Him and his sword will become one when he's really like has management, has control over those emotions. And it gave me a good plot thing to like include a magic tennis fight. So that was kind of fun, because I really wanted that. So to have kind of a moment where I could make it thematic was fun. And a lot of work. It was a lot of work to get those magic balls to go where the magic balls needed to be. I love this moment with the Twilight Princess music in the background there. The boss music.
It is not a bringer of death. It is a bringer of justice. You will not be
Yeah, y'all have no idea how long this took.
until you understand.
I'll show you the scenes after, if I can even open them. And then you'll see when Link kind of goes woo, and when he wakes up, he becomes the hero shade for a second. He has the same blue fire energy for just a moment, as like a little foreshadowing. There it is. All right, and now on to the last hero shade scene, the big one. I'll do a VFX breakdown where I talk about how hard these shots were. But here we go, into the world between the worlds. And I always planned for this like place to be like this. I wanted to kind of give it a little bit of a name, a little bit of a character, because there's this space that Link goes to in many of the games. It's where he fights Demise. Him and Zelda are there in the end of Ocarina of Time. In the final battle of Twilight Princess, there's like this liminal space. So I really wanted to keep that. I really wanted to make that a space. And it just worked as the perfect opportunity to put this character in there.
Feel a strange sadness, as Twilight knew.
And that's the opening line of Twilight Princess, a little
Be dark
abridged.
again
But
for us both. But it is bittersweet for me. I have journeyed so far. I am ready for the final darkness.
I do miss my hair. this whole monologue again is one of the last things that I wrote, one of the last things I filmed. The last last moment kind of leads up to this scene. Really thankful for how it turned out. It took a lot of work to get those edges to look okay. I was working with like old equipment, you know. I wasn't gonna buy new software or anything for the movie, but I was gonna try to give it my best shot. So I'm glad it really turned out pretty well, and I was able to I had a lot of like sunset footage that I was able to use and make this kind of liminal space.
You are very young.
But yeah, this is.
I have been waiting for you.
I want to talk real quick about just like accepting this moment and accepting the movie through this moment. Like this scene, I rewrote this scene until I cried. I rewrote it again and again. I had Fee's farewell music playing in the background while I was writing it, and I just kept rewriting it until I cried because I really wanted to give it the send off that it needed to have, that I needed it to have. Because I just spent so much of my life doing this movie, and for a while I was embarrassed about it. For a while I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna finish that, whatever. And then I was just like, this 14-year-old kid here, right? Well, he is 18 in that one. But I was like, if some kid came up to me and was like, oh, I made this whole movie, this whole Zelda movie, you know, would I ever look at him and be like, that's so embarrassing? It's like, no, I would be like, that's incredibly impressive that you did that, you know? Like, you got all your friends together, you made all the costumes, you did all the music, like, that's impressive, you know? So I, like, needed to tell myself that. I really needed to tell myself that it was good and that it was for a purpose, and that purpose for me, a lot of the purpose, at least, is just so that I know that I finished something and that I can have finished something. Because I have a lot of different projects. I've got a book that's longer than Dune that I'm in the 4th draft of. You know, I've got a lot of other books. I've got so many projects that I'm always working on. So I needed this one to be done. I needed this one to have not come to nothing. And thankfully, Hero Shade was there, and I could have him be that, and it was pretty cathartic. I don't feel like I'm acting in this scene at all when I do it. I do miss my hair though.
You are so young.
I feel like a little too meta right now. I'm watching this. I'm filming me watching me talk to me.
It's been a longer journey.
There's a lot going on there. Actually, it's kind of weird.
I have only one lesson left to teach you. Take heart. Do not despair. It is not all for nothing.
That made me cry. That line right there was became the whole thesis, and I've now realized is a strong theme in Zelda in general. Is just growing up and realizing that it's all gonna be okay and you're gonna get through anything, you know. And like that teen was really depressed. That teen was really struggling. Like he was really didn't know he was gonna make it, you know. And then 14 years later, here I am, so much stronger.
Is my final gift to you.
Yeah. So this one's really special. And Sunset Golden Hour has always been really special to me for multiple reasons. And so to have this whole moment take place at Twilight is thematic for Zelda.
Everything I am to who you are. I go now to my peace because of your courage.
Emotional.
Constant, unyielding even in the darkest nights.
Because that's
I know everything.
that's real, you know. That's
We haven't.
very much how that felt.
And so,
He was a
again,
courageous kid
I
for
say,
enduring, you know.
take heart. Do not despair.
Same earrings.
It is not
Minus
all
the
for
pizza.
nothing.
And this is Midna's farewell music, if nobody noticed. tried to mirror it almost shot for shot.
Thank you for enduring.
And I cut my hair right after this. Yeah, I'm really proud of all the visual effects there. It really all came together. It was a lot of hard work to make that whole environment and make it work. Yeah, and obviously you can tell it's green screen. It's not like I'm hiding that, but it did end up really coming together in a way that I'm really proud of. I feel like I can look at and say, like, I'm very proud of that. So, yeah, and that's not all of the scenes, but I guess we'll go on to the next one, the last one. Then I'll give you a little in-depth dive into the making of the character from a practical standpoint. That's actually the last shot of the movie. That's the last thing I filmed. So I debated what the title should be. I was gonna say after Ganondorf's defeat. There was a lot of different things, and I was just like, let's just say after the story that you know. This is 14 years later, you know. And this was at a cabin that my wife and I were house sitting at for a couple months, and that's where I finished the movie. And I found a spot, and I just needed to do something. I needed to have a moment of closure, and specifically with the Master Sword, because I love the Master Sword. It's one of my favorite things I own, and I just needed a moment of setting it to rest. And it gave me a chance to film a little bit more. It was so stressful filming this too. There were dogs running around everywhere. Every shot there was a dog, and I'm like cutting it around the dogs because we were taking them on a walk. The sun was going, it was stressful. And then this is supposed to mirror Ocarina of Time. And yeah, this is a special moment to me too. Just really leaving it there. Saying like, there you go. Don't need the sword anymore. It's fine. We're gonna move on. Your adventure's done, and yeah, you can just go live your life now, you know, which is again a meta-narrative of what I've kind of experienced. I feel like there's a lot of healing in my life in general, a lot of healing, and I'm able to look at this as like a physical reminder of that healing that has taken place in me, of healing my inner self. That's why I think it's fitting that older Link, genuinely adult Link, takes over the narrative. And that's my wife. She's low-key Zelda. We had a little costume, but yeah. So it ends kind of, that strips back, like that's not the meta-narrative, that's very much real. Yeah, very much the narrative is not separate from what is happening there. But it definitely was very good to be able to have a scene that sent it off for me. And I'm glad that people, like, you know, there's definitely, I still get comments about people that are like, oh man, I wish this had like the climactic battle, and I understand that very much because I feel the same way. But I'm really thankful that I feel like I did enough for people. Like, people are genuinely, in the comments, people have very consistently been like, okay, well, like, you know, there's not the big send-off battle, but there is a very good ending, a very good satisfying ending to this hero's journey. And I'm really, really thankful that people feel that way. So, yeah, so that's it for the commentary. Now I'll show you a little bit about how I made the hero shade. I'll get into some of these files. All right, so first we're getting into Final Cut. We'll see how long it takes for this thing to boot up. Final Cut does not want me to be working on this project whatsoever. It's done. It has paid its dues, and rightfully so. But here I go. You know, I just want to show you, yeah, obviously, so practically, you know, the character was created so long, in over such a long period of time, constant rewrites, constant like different costume iterations. Yeah, and then what I settled on, it was fairly easy as far as technologically, like, you know, the hardest thing was setting up the camera angles. I didn't have a very wide library of visual effects, and again, I wasn't gonna download and learn another software. So I had this like one specific like fire effect. You see it in the trailer. There's like this fire that I based off of Ganondorf's, the fire that's in like the flashback where you see Ganondorf riding in Ocarina of Time, and kind of also there's one in Twilight Princess where he's rearing up on the horse. And there's always this kind of pink orange fire, and so I based it off of that, and then that fire I just kind of used everywhere. So his fire is that as well. I just turned it blue. Added a few layers. We'll see if this even works. I mean, this might actually take literally too long for me to even like do this while I'm filming. At the end of the day, you know my pain. I spent so long looking at this. Like, just so many days. It was bad enough that I got like severe back issues. I like couldn't turn. I was just like, Hero, go into the Hero's shade files. So there he is. There's our guy. Just kind of in a little bit of a vacant background. Yeah, and you can see like here, so here's like a close-up. And I've got this fire behind, fire in front, and that's basically all it is. And I've just got opacity and keying and some other effects on there. Got the keyer. So let's see, like if I turn these off, just so you can, well, I'll do it on this one. Just so you can see kind of the layers. So take out the keyer. There's a green screen. Of course it's gonna load. We take out the Luma keyer. We take out the, yeah, and then we take out the mask. Take out the glory. Take out the graduated mask. And then you can see, yeah, and then if we were to reset the crop, you know, there we go. That's my little hero shade guy. That's like, just so you know, like, so this is what I was dealing with. Like, I was not being professional. That's my bus. That's my bus over there. So like, this is what it looks like, right? And then we go, do 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 do, and there we go, you know. And thankfully, like, it really works with this footage. And of course, you can see even now, just like if you look at this footage versus the final footage, there's still a lot that's changed. There's a lot of different just effects, and I spent a lot of time on the color grade to make it very dreamy. Yeah. And I wanted to really make sure these felt kind of physical, all those hits and everything. Yeah, I really like what he looks like in that one. Here, I'll just do the same thing. I'll take the effects off again. Well, actually, no. I'll go into it because that's a clip. So this gives you a better picture of what I was looking at for each individual shot. So each individual shot wasn't too bad. You know, 5-ish layers for most visual effects. Not too bad. It was a lot worse for the end, actually. There was a lot of different layers of fog. So here, I always like this, the way he comes in here. It looks really smooth with all the footage in there. And here, let me just once again let me take out some of those effects so you can see kind of what he looks at. So we key her out, take the color out, take the color out, take the Luma keyer, mask, glory. Yeah. And obviously the fire is still over him. So that gives you a good picture of kind of what the fire is. But yeah, so I recorded this, right? I just recorded me stepping that way. That's the whole shot. It's just me stepping that way. And that's the end result. You can see slowly building up all those visual effects. So that's that.
that's basically how I did all these scenes, all these shots. I could go through more, but it's really more of the same. The only difference would be maybe the last shot. I like that one too. I really like how that one ended up turning out. And of course, like I've resized a lot of them so that they fit in the shots as well. And sometimes I would add a camera movement with them. But yeah, so that's kind of how he is. This was hard. Getting this to match up with Link was very difficult. I had to add a motion tracker to the sword so that he kind of like the sword doesn't move as much. And then I had to, on top of that tracking, no, I attached the tracker to Link's sword, so it kind of is moving. But then it looked a little janky, so I ended up having to just kind of keyframe him to move him a little bit, so that he was. And then I ended up making the whole scene. You can see how the whole scene is kind of shaking a little bit. It was that was a very tough one, getting that to check out there. Yeah. And then you can see like Link's shoulder there, so it's cropped out Link's shoulder. I really like how that ended up too, with him being pretty close up, and really giving him pressure there. And what was cool was realizing that like this is still me, and I knew what I was doing when I was like, like as a like teenager, I was like backing up, and I was like, and so I knew, and it was cool to see that it really kind of matched up, like the way that I move is still consistent because I'm the same human, and it was just cool. It was just cool to see how it matched up in the end. There, it wasn't ridiculously out of the realm of matching those things up. The hardest thing was getting the exact like camera angles, especially me trying to communicate the correct camera angles to my wife, often having her stand there and then me go in and then just like hope that it's right. So that was crazy. That was a crazy amount of work. Yeah, and then that's like when the spin attack comes in. So that's how I did it. That's how I did that whole section and all the other subsequent sections from a practical standpoint. And yeah, I think it came out really good. And again, like you can see the difference between this and the final product. Like, you can tell that the swords are not moving or not actually touching at all, right? And I ended up being able to lighten that up and add some glow, and it ended up making it, I feel pretty tangible, given the fact that it was so not tangible. And again, I did the tripod partially because it was easier for me. Again, like I'm filming this shot, so it's like it was easier for me. But also, like, I'm so glad I did, because then I could just tripod the same thing for the hero shade, and I didn't have to worry about camera motions, And so when you look at like a shot like this, there's a little bit of camera motion on these shots. Just a little bit, it's moving a little bit, and I added in a little something just to make it a little bit interesting. I think there's more on the final actually as well. But yeah, so that's the hero shade, guys. That's the scene. Those are all the scenes, and that's the character. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of how it all turned out. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching like so many times. So many of you. Like, I know there's been like watch parties, and people have just been so supportive. And again, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting, I made the movie for myself first and foremost, and for the casting crew that made it, and then I was like, and my 250 subscribers. I didn't make it to get more subscribers. I'm not doing this for clout. So it was like knowing that I was able to, that people enjoyed it enough to have that many views and that many comments has just been so encouraging. So thank you all, really, from the bottom of my heart. I'll get out of your hair now. Let me know what other videos you want me to do, because I will do them. This was fun. This was fun to finally be able to talk about this. I'd love to do some more, and I don't know if I'll have the same like setup, if I'll have the computer or whatever, but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. And yeah, ask me your questions and I will answer, because this was a labor of love, and you know, the hero shade was the biggest labor of love as far as like really being a genuine moment, right? And a really cathartic moment. My therapist watched my movie twice, apparently, he said. So I was like, we were talking about that. He was like, the self-parenting. That was actually, no, that was also, everyone's been said, that phrase has been like, the self-parenting. And I'm like, I know, I've learned how to do that. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, just to have the, like a visual of that. That's why I think anyone should create art. Everyone needs to create anything that's in their mind, you know, even if it's a crazy movie. And like, know your limits, you know, don't try to make a trilogy like I was gonna try to make, you know. But even if you do, like, find out the way that you can get a project to a point where you can send it off and be happy. Because I'm very happy. You know, I don't feel the need to do a sequel. I know a lot of you, and if you keep saying it, I really might. There's an idea. There's an idea for how I can bring even more closure, and I'm not opposed to it. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not gonna feel super upset just based on the fact that I was able to find like this level of catharsis, this level of closure for myself personally, and I'm really thankful for that. So yeah, thanks for sticking around, and for, you know, sticking around for a real long time, some of you. Yeah, I'm really over the moon with it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.